Is it possible for a boot to look cheap and expensive at the same time? What's going on, guys? Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new limited edition TechCraft Nike Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite, which is exactly what you think it is, a kangaroo leather version of the Mercurial Vapor. And if you didn't know, TechCraft actually stands for technology and craftsmanship, the tech of a top-end boot and the craftsmanship of a leather boot. And with technology in mind, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website, head over to squarespace.com/soccerreviewsforyou. And this is not the first time Nike has transformed the Mercurial to have a leather upper. We had a TechCraft Superfly 4 and Vapor 10, as well as a TechCraft Vapor 11 and Superfly 6. They skipped it for the previous Mercurial generation, and I guess technically there was a leather upper variation of the Mercurial Vapor 1 way back in the day, but this is Nike's latest attempt at making a leather vapor, and I have to say, they've actually done a really good job. However, while the craftsmanship is quite good, I think that this might be a little bit lacking in regards to overall technology, which is kind of what the Mercurial series is all about. So with that in mind, what I want to cover in this review is what I think is really good about the TechCraft Vapor 13, and also what I think is kind of just bad, and the reason why you maybe wouldn't want to buy these. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they fit and feel on feet, please stick around and watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen, or you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal $250 retail price. If you guys end up enjoying this video and perhaps would like to see more reviews of limited edition football boots on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Someone is cutting their grass. So included with the boots is a regular gray and black Nike box that you'd get with any top end model, and inside that box they do of course include a string bag. However, this one is a little bit different, not being made out of the typical kind of almost windbreaker material, this being made out of this very soft fabric, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what you would call this. It does have black strings, pretty much the standard Nike string bag construction, even the little pocket there on the inside, but you can see it is a black on black design with the Nike TechCraft logo there on the front. Pretty decent string bag, actually very high quality. So first things first, I'm actually curious to hear everyone's opinion on the look of the TechCraft Vapor 13, because in some ways they look quite good. I think the way that they incorporated the new design of the Mercurial looks really nice, and I like the laser etched Nike swoosh here on the side, as well as the Merc branding, but the texturing that they've put on the kangaroo leather upper, which is supposed to mimic the look and design of the Flyknit upper on the Vapor 13, which is exactly the reason why these exist, so they're not Flyknit. I just think that element in particular makes the upper look like a cheap synthetic rather than a really thin, soft kangaroo leather, which is what it actually is. And they put a wearable finish stud plate that's supposed to be black chrome, but it just doesn't match the rest of the upper. Looks aside, the TechCraft Vapor 13 is a very different football boot from the standard Flyknit variation. The sole plate and stud pattern, the split sole to be more specific, is identical. It's the one carryover element and the main base for what makes a modern Mercurial a modern Mercurial. The upper, however, does not have a single piece of Flyknit anywhere to be found. Instead, what you're going to find is an extremely thin kangaroo leather material that spans the majority of the upper. Every part that has this kind of weird texturing to it is in fact kangaroo leather that is just remarkably thin and extremely pliable. I would actually make the argument that this upper is thinner than the Flyknit upper found on the regular Mercurial. So if your expectation when buying these is that they're going to have a soft, padded Tiempo-like touch, that is not what you're going to get here. This is definitely a barefoot feel as you'd expect from a Mercurial Vapor, but the added bonus of the boots being leather is that the upper is just softer and more pliable, and of course will stretch to the shape of your feet. Stretch really being the key word here, because while right now this has that slim and sleek Mercurial silhouette that you'd expect from a modern Mercurial Vapor, as you wear these boots in, because the leather is so soft and so thin and really doesn't have any extra reinforcement, there are no flywire cables, there's nothing other than a very thin synthetic liner that really isn't adding much structure at all. As you play in these boots, the more you play in these boots, the upper is going to stretch more and more. And I think part of what makes a modern Mercurial Vapor so special is that super tight fit and the extremely responsive sensation, which these will provide for the first couple of wears, but long term, it's not something that's going to be maintained. And that's not necessarily something that's Nike's fault, but it is a design choice that they've made. When you go with a leather material that's this thin and this soft, it is going to overstretch over time. So if you've wanted a pair of Mercurial Vapors that maybe just have a little bit of a wider fit once they've stretched out, these are exactly the Mercurials for you. But if you're buying Mercurial Vapors because you want what makes a Mercurial, this isn't really a Mercurial. Now, because the upper has transitioned from Flyknit to Kangaroo leather, they had to make some modifications. And surprisingly, they haven't opted for a stretchy Flyknit to fill in the central portion of the upper, but they have still opted for somewhat of a one-piece construction in that you have the same kind of slightly padded, slightly stretchy synthetic material found on the Vapor 10 and the Vapor 11, or at least some variation of those two boots, filling in the central portion of the boot where a tongue would normally be. And it is fully independent and separated at the upper part of the boot and then fully attached to the sides of the upper at the lower part. It still uses the dual lace hole system because of this one-piece construction, and you end up with the standard Mercurial lacing system, which is quite nice. Moving to the heel, something else that is very much influenced by the Flyknit upper on the regular Mercurials, because there's no Flyknit, they've actually gone back to a very traditional type of Mercurial heel construction that, again, we saw on the Vapor 10 as well as the Vapor 11, and really all the Mercurial Vapors prior to going or transitioning to Flyknit. So you have an internal plastic heel counter, and then something that we've pretty much never seen on a Mercurial Vapor is a synthetic suede liner through the heel that I actually really like the feel of. Super, super soft. The same amount of padding you would typically find in a pair of Mercurial Vapors, and the heel lockdown and fit is quite good. The insole is fully removable, and as you can see, does feature the standard mesh liner on top, although does not have the Nike grip branding. Whether or not it's actually a different material, I don't think it is. It feels pretty much the same, but in place of that Nike grip branding, you will find the Nike Tech Craft logo with that little symbol around the Nike swoosh being the symbol for natural leather, for those that are wondering. I know people always get confused about that. Then the insole itself is the same as what you'd get on any other pair of Mercurial Vapors. Yellow foam with this slightly firmer black foam through the middle with this pattern pressed in that actually matches the underside of the sole plate to actually stop the insole from sliding around as you're playing in the boots. Which brings us to the base of the boots, where you'll find the familiar split sole construction. You do notice that there is a transition in material from Kangaroo leather to what is just a synthetic leather material. And what are the high wear zones? This material here is going to take a little bit of a beating as you're playing in the boots, so they've opted for a slightly more durable synthetic rather than wrapping the entire foot in Kangaroo leather, which also would have been more expensive for them to do. So I understand why they did it this way. It's probably better in the long run, even though maybe from an aesthetics view, because these two shades of black don't match that well, it doesn't necessarily look the best. As far as everything else is concerned, though, it's identical to any other variation of the Mercurial Vapor 13. Split sole construction with this AeroTrack system that gives it a very progressive stiffness and super responsive feel. And then, of course, the FG stud pattern, which is the only one available on this TechCraft variation, is just extremely aggressive. As far as speed boots go, this sole plate and stud pattern is pretty much the gold standard. Which brings us to the weight, which is interesting here because part of what makes a Mercurial Vapor is how light it is, and Nike, as well as every other company, has pretty much led us to believe that leather is always going to be heavier than synthetic or knitted materials. So does the TechCraft Vapor 13 weigh more than the regular one? Well, in a size 9.5 US, you can see that they weigh in at 7 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 198 grams, which is roughly about 0.2 to 0.3 ounces more than a regular Flyknit variation of the Vapor 13 in the exact same size. So technically there is a weight difference, but it's such a small weight difference that there's really no way that you'd be able to tell. So as you can see, I've swapped out the stock black laces, which look good given that they have gone for a blackout theme here, and I kind of wanted to maintain that, but also be a little bit different. So I've swapped them for some black reflective SR4U replacement laces, which maintain the all black look, but it adds the little gray reflective bits that look particularly cool when there's a little bit of light in a slightly darker environment, mainly because they reflect. It's a great way of changing up the style of your boots in a very inexpensive way. So if you're looking to do that yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. There'll be a little pop-up on screen as well as a link down below in the description. So if you're interested in some for yourself, be sure to go ahead and check that out. On feet, the TechCraft Vapors feel really good. Are they more comfortable than the regular Flyknit variation? I think you can make the argument yes, yes if you prefer a pair of boots that doesn't squeeze your foot as tightly, because while this does have the same shape as the regular Vapor 13, because it's kangaroo leather that doesn't really have any reinforcement to it, it naturally has a little bit of stretch to it. So the tension on your foot is just less significant with this version out of the box. As you wear them in and the leather inevitably will stretch, they'll get even looser and even less tight on your feet, which will ultimately hurt the overall fit, as well as the performance of the boot. From a responsiveness and lockdown standpoint, this simply is not as good as the Flyknit variation, but that's the trade-off that you get when you go with a much more simple material for the entire upper. As far as comfort though, it really is comfortable. It feels incredible on your feet. It's a thin leather material that doesn't really have a padded sensation to it, but it's extremely flexible and just moves with your foot very nicely. I also really like the synthetic suede heel liner. As a whole, there's really nothing to complain about here. They're very comfortable out of the box, but expect them to stretch a good amount, which is why we're gonna talk about width. From a width perspective, it definitely is a tight-fitting boot. I still think that they'll fit most people, and I still don't think that it's an ideal option if you have really wide feet. But if you like that tight fit, you will get it from this boot. Just expect them to stretch a decent amount as you continue to wear them. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, I have to say that I actually really like the TechCraft Vapor 13. It's a very enjoyable pair of boots to wear. However, I feel like the experience does get worse as you wear them more and more based on how much the upper stretches. The best experience is going to be over the course of the first couple of wears, given how thin and stretchy this kangaroo leather upper is. However, it's also kind of made me realize that maybe the whole TechCraft series is more of a novelty rather than the actual best way of making a pair of football boots. I think what makes the Mercurial Vapor 13 Elite such a special boot is the way that it fits, feels, and ultimately performs because of the way it was designed. All of the elements of that boot are there for a reason to kind of reach an end goal, where the TechCraft Vapor 13 is kind of Nike saying, hey, we have this really good boot, let's try to make it into something with a leather upper, and the end result is still a really good product, but ultimately one that is far from being the ultimate speed boot, and certainly not as good from a performance standpoint as the regular version of the Vapor. For me, this boot is a little bit more of a novelty, and that's not to say that it can't hold its own with other top-of-the-line speed boots out there, but like I said, long-term, the leather is too thin and they just end up feeling a little bit too sloppy for my liking. So if you're really after a speed boot that also happens to have a leather upper, I definitely think that there are better options out there, like the Puma King Platinum, like the Mizuno Morelia Neo 2 or Neo 2 Beta, just to name a couple of options that are out there right now. Basically, what makes it special is also its biggest flaw. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I also want to say a quick thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you've never heard of Squarespace, it's an all-in-one, easy-to-use platform that allows you to build your own clean and professional-looking website for basically anything you want. I know a lot of you guys who watch these videos have your own football boot collection, so as an example, if you wanted to share your collection with the football boot community, Squarespace would be an excellent service to buy your own domain to start your own website. They have a bunch of pre-made templates to display your boots in the most beautiful way possible, and they also have e-commerce built in, so if you ever wanted to sell your boots, that's totally possible as well. There's even a built-in commenting service so you can communicate with the rest of the football boot community. So if you're looking to build your own professional looking website for your brand or business, head over to squarespace.com/soccer reviews for you to start your free trial today. And if you decide to continue on with them, you can use coupon code soccer reviews for you to get 10% off your first purchase. All of that info is linked down below in the description, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. And once again, thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, you can click the first link down below. That's going to take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes to pick these up below their normal $250 retail price. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.